The other impact, Wendell, is on that community, the folks that saw that. You know, you don't know how long that's going to impact those people, that the witnesses, you know, I mean, so there's just so many people that have been impacted by this that, you know, we're not even thinking of when we look at the whole diaspora of this thing. You know, it's it's a terrible situation.
And it's extended beyond, you know, it's extended beyond that to all of us who see it and the trauma, you know, and these aren't traumas that happen, you know, years in between. We're talking, you know, George Floyd thing was near the end of was that Memorial Day?
Yep.
And here we are coming up on Labor Day.
Yep.
And we got another one to be thinking about.
Yep.
And you still got the virus out there.
And it's going strong every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, one of the other things, and I have to read this comment again from Phil. Phil said, "Does it appear that it's always, for the most part, a white officer shooting a black man? We must accept it for what it is and what it's always been. They watched a white boy with an assault rifle walk down the street. He was never approached by anyone. We must accept what it is." And you know, that's been a comment that has been very prevalent throughout this whole situation. Not only the tragedy of what happened to Mr. Blake and how it impacted his family and his community,
right?
But then you have a young man walking with a rifle,
AR-15,
an AR-15, a fully automatic rifle, walking through a crowd and with impunity, if you will, at least the way it's reported, and according to the videos that are being released. And so, then, Bad, that's something that we need to talk about when we get off the break, because that stuff there, man, just, you know, I was looking at that saying, you know, my goodness. So when we get on the other side of the break, let's talk about this young man that was walking down the middle of the street with an assault rifle after he had just shot someone. I think that should be some interesting discussion. So keep it locked where you got it. We'll be right back.
Laser Talk Radio. Other shows water down the issues. We only serve the hard stuff.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
It's because of that historical trauma that goes back so many generations.
Or even a fundamental form of racial justice.
We are tired. Guys, we're tired. And we are frustrated.
And racism.
This is a critical time for us.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Anyone else?
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Are you watching how fast you're going? I didn't know I was speeding.
I was going down a hill.
Speed?
I didn't see the sign.
I don't think so.
But nobody else is on the road.
My foot fell asleep.
I gotta pick up my kids at daycare.
Is it because I'm driving a red car?
I didn't see you.
My wife's going into labor, sir.
I didn't know. I was looking at a different gauge.
I'm not really from around here.
Something must be wrong with the speedometer.
Trust us, we've heard it all. Now hear this. There's no excuse for speeding.
But I always go this fast.
How many times have you wanted to make a change? Change in our schools, in our environment, and in our relationship with other countries. Well, guess what? You can make that change. All you have to do is vote for the people who you feel will bring about these changes. It is not enough to complain or just hope that things will get better. Stop backseat driving and steer our country where you think it should go. Some people think that one vote doesn't matter, but each vote gives politicians a better understanding of the opinions of the people they are representing. Opinions on important issues such as gun control, education reform, immigration, climate change, and abortion. Without our vote, they would have no idea what we think of these issues. In the last presidential election, only 57.5% of eligible citizens voted. That means politicians are unaware of the opinions of nearly half of the country. Each vote is a chance to speak your mind and work towards a better country and a better world. So vote for someone who you think could help us get there. Vote for how you want our country to change.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to Straight No Chaser. It's Sinbad and Chief.
Yeah.
We are talking about all of the craziness that has been going on. We were talking about, we touched on a few things, but we spent the better part of the last half hour talking about the Jacob Blake shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And just before we got to the break, we were talking about what had happened and kind of looking at what was the situation, what was that officer thinking about, to have his gun already drawn, to kind of chase this guy down, drag on his shirt. And then in the protests that pursued, that preceded this, not preceded, but that came after this, all of this stuff that followed this, where we had the 17-year-old, what's his name, Kyle Rittenhouse, who was carrying an AR-15 down the middle of the street like he had a ukulele or something. He was just walking down the middle of the street. He had come from another state. He wasn't even from Wisconsin. He was from Illinois, somewhere in Illinois. And he came, took it upon himself, in this whole environment of we've got to, take up our arms and protect ourselves from these vandals and these mongrels. And under that guise, he came across state lines to help someone protect something, so to speak, and ends up getting out in the middle of the protest and is running, away from folks, falls, and folks are running up to him, not necessarily to beat him to death. I don't know. It didn't seem like it, but they certainly wanted to get that gun away from him. And in so doing, he ends up shooting two demonstrators and killing them. Two of the victims. It's just crazy. And of course, none of this is spoken against on the White House. The White House, instead of trying to bring calm as a president in any other situation, any kind of unrest that we've had or anything throughout the years, the president has been that voice of trying to bring people together. And this fool that we are stuck with is sitting there not talking at all about what that is. He's saying, well, there were some pretty rough folks over there. They were probably going to kill him. Refusing to acknowledge that, how about what Rittenhouse did? Was that right? Was that wrong? No, he's not going to say anything about that. He's just going to go ahead and talk about the looting and all of that stuff, playing to his base, more fear mongering and all of that kind of stuff. It's just crazy. I mean, 17 years old with an AR-17. I had just got my driver's license by the time I, 16 or 17. I wasn't thinking about, AR-15. What am I talking? Did I say AR-17?
Yeah, it's all right. That's two models better. That's the new one.
There's two more bullets.
But, right.
I mean,
and air conditioning.
I mean, do you know what what kind of privilege that is to just think that that's okay. I mean, before you even get to the point of shooting somebody, to say, hey, mom, dad, I'm going to take the pickup and I'm going on out with this AR-15. I'm going to take the gun and I'm going across state lines and just going to stand guard here and, see a couple of folks running loose. I'm just going to pop a couple of hot ones in them and then I'll be back home for dinner. Don't wait up for me, but I'll be back before the street lights come on. What the hell? I mean, I don't even know what kind of mindset, what that is. How do you just go off and do that and be okay? He was very calm. He put his hands up. You could see in the video where as the tanks were rolling through and he has a gun, clearly hanging from his waist at that point. And then he tries, I guess, to get their attention and give himself up or whatever he was going to do and talk to someone and tell them what happened and probably give him his version of what happened. And evidently that didn't happen. So he says, oh, hell, I'll just keep going on to my car. I'll go home and take a shower. And then I'll give them a call later and say, hey, I want to turn myself in. I'm going to come on down to the whole thing is just Twilight Zone. It's crazy. So I don't even know what to, there's so many traumatic things happening one after the other and they're intertwined and connected. And I'm sitting here, on the one hand, we're just, nobody's really gotten through the George Floyd piece. I mean, it's moved on, but it's still there. And then you got this happening. And then as you're trying to digest what's going on with the Kenosha piece, with the Blake piece, now you got this dude, this wahoo running through the street shooting people, and I'm like, it's just so many layers of ridiculousness. It's just hard to figure out, where to get in or what you should do. Where do you focus your attention? That's the part. I think everybody's, I guess you go where your passion leads you, but it's just so many things. You've got the police issue. You've got this vigilante thing going on, where it's okay for just, citizens to come out now and just start shooting folks. I don't know. It's just, there was a time when I used to have I wasn't, you remember when Martin Luther King would say, we just want America to be true to what you say on paper, just live up to what you wrote. I mean, you're not doing it, but the idea that you have, what you wrote down here was pretty good. Can we get to that? And in spite of everything that had happened up to this point, I used to always be one I was kind of as Cornel West would say, a prisoner of hope that, this whole America experiment would work and would come to fruition at some point. Even though it wasn't really happening now, the idea of America was still fresh enough in people's minds where you could think you could get to it. Now I'm starting to lose faith in the idea of it, at some point, which is why if this, my last holdout is this election. If they mess this election up, I'm on my way to Ghana. I'm on my way to Ghana. I'm getting the hell out of here because this shit is crazy. It's getting that way. It's just like ridiculous. I don't really know what to do. And I'm not one as I said, who holds on to hope when there looks like there's no reason to do so. But this kind of lawlessness and ridiculousness, if this doesn't turn people, I don't know what else will. I don't know what else will.
Well, when you look at this whole thing with this young man, I mean, just everything was wrong with this. We'll just start at the fact that he was 17 years old. By law, he wasn't even supposed to be in possession of this weapon. Let's just start there. Second thing, in a situation like that, where you've got riots going on, you've got all kinds of things, you really don't need a group of armed people to come and assist the police. If the police need assistance, they are quite capable of calling other jurisdictions. They can ask the governor to call in the National Guard and all those other things. So there are plenty of ways to get extra people to come in and help you deal with that situation. When you look at the reporting that came out on this, and they were saying that there were some of the officers that were thanking these guys for being there and supporting them and so forth. And if that was the case, that is rather disappointing.